Welcome to another episode of the Wall Street Bets podcast, where we talk about decentralized finance and democratizing DeFi to make it more accessible to everyone. I'm Venus DeMille, and today we'll be joined by BitcoinVegan, a Bitcoin educator and author of the autobiographical book, From Bars to Bitcoin. But first, a recap of the week. Crypto.com coin has surged 91% since the exchange secured the naming rights to the home of the LA Lakers. Traditional and alternative investors are slowly turning to cryptocurrencies, according to a new study published this Monday by Ernst & Young, one of the 4 largest accounting firms in the world. Managers at the biggest companies are more likely to plan to move into cryptocurrencies, according to the study. Alternative investing is an umbrella term for anything other than a stock, bond, or cash. This includes precious metals, artwork, and real estate. It could even be a set of rare and holographic Pokemon cards or a collection of wines. In legal news, it's no secret that meme coins often take liberties with pop culture IP, but we've found one that shall not pass. The Lord of the Rings themed JRR token has met a bad ending after being forced to shut down following legal action from the family and estate of the famed series author, J.R.R. Tolkien, who died in 1973. Odell Beckham Jr. is entering the world of crypto. The Los Angeles Rams wide receiver took to Twitter on Monday to announce he will receive the entirety of his new contract in Bitcoin. And President Nayib Bukele announced El Salvador will build an entire city on Bitcoin at the bottom of a volcano, backed by Bitfinex and Blockstream. For full disclosure, Blockstream is a strategic partner of the Wall Street BetsDApp project. For more weekly news, go to the WSBDApp YouTube channel. And now to welcome BitcoinVegan, whose real name is Justin Rhedrick. His book, From Bars to Bitcoin, details his journey from his time growing up to being in prison to discovering Bitcoin and forging an unlikely path forward. Justin now lives in his purpose of teaching financial literacy to the marginalized and disenfranchised, and shares with them the tools he developed to live with more financial freedom. Welcome, Justin.
How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We're so excited to have you.
Hey, I'm excited to be on the legendary Wall Street Bets. I never thought I'll be on the Wall Street Bets. I didn't even y'all have one of these, so yeah, this is definitely dope. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, well, this is something I've been looking forward to for a few weeks now. And we have so much to talk about, but you've been a busy man over the last several years. But first, let's talk about the news. Did any of that news jump out at you, surprise you, interest you?
So when I first heard about it, it seems like LA is getting a lot of attention. You got Odell Beckham taking his whole next contract in Bitcoin. I might have to buy a jersey. But then you have my favorite team, the Lakers, the arenas being changed to Crypto.com arena. You gotta I'm a diehard Laker fan, so it's like, damn, it's not long gonna be Staples. But people move on. Times change, and it seems like Crypto.com is playing that big persuasion game, and it's going to open a lot of people's minds. Like, damn, this thing is for real now. Everything is for real. You have FTX in Miami, you have Crypto.com in LA. I mean, probably two of the most livest cities in America. And you have companies looking to take those names of arenas, and so I think it'll be overall, it's good for an awakening. It's good for certain adoptions that take place. And I actually did a room one time to talk about crypto arena name change on Twitter. And I was going to keep it like a Bitcoin room, but you have all these people who have Crow just hopping out like, what the hell? And so now, the Crow bandits are not bandits, but the Crow followers are coming out. Full disclosure, I don't own any, but I was like, wow. And I didn't really know. I mean, I knew Crypto.com used to be with Monaco, but I didn't really know that. I didn't know their presence was that serious worldwide. So something is happening. I will say that something is happening.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I agree with what you're saying. Because I didn't see Crypto.com coming. It almost felt like the second Binance started to kind of hit a certain plateau, they sort of came up the back, like, because obviously, like, the U.S. still has some pretty some pretty sort of like rigid rules around exchanges. And it's like they knew what they were going for, and they wanted to own that. They wanted to own the US market.
They contributed to the country. Hey, $700 million. Can we get a pass? Yeah, sure. So you're here now.
Yeah. So how did you become such a diehard fan of the LA Lakers?
So my uncle, who taught me how to play basketball, he was a diehard Lakers fan. If you ask him who the best basketball player of all time, he might say Magic Johnson.
Wow.
So he taught the man who taught me. And that's why I say a lot of times that persuasion thing works, because we saw a lot of Lakers stuff. Yeah. And you just end up going for the best team. So it was the Lakers. And it's a great ride. It's a great ride no matter what.
Yeah, that was like my childhood in LA was all about Magic Johnson. He was a huge, huge deal. I mean, just such an icon. And you grew up though on the East Coast, but you were a basketball player, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I played basketball.
Amazing. So I feel like we're going to come to a point in this podcast where we talk about what the athlete mentality means for Bitcoin as well. But let's start with your story. I want to hear about your growing up, your basketball, your high school experience, and onward, and your journey towards Bitcoin.
Well, my journey of Bitcoin did start. It did start kind of taking off. I didn't buy in high school. God damn, I wish I did. But the path to Bitcoin, it wouldn't have been as easy if it wasn't for what took place in high school. So in high school, as I've shared before, that's when me and my mom, we lost our home. And I was 17 years old. I was training every day at 5 a.m. in the morning that summer to get ready for the basketball season. And I was pumped for it. But then I get a phone call, my mom telling me we have to move because we lost our house. And it was during those early stages of the housing market crash. And I was stuck. I had to transfer to a different school. I wasn't able to play basketball there. But I actually knew most of the people, so it wasn't like I was going to a new school, but I was able to hang out with people. And then I was at a party, and I witnessed a murder. One of my good friends get killed at a party we were going to in Charlotte. His name was Travis Moore. And that did set me back a lot mentally. I still graduated high school. I even went to college for 2 years. I made the dean's list in college. But I dropped out the semester after making the dean's list because I had a professor tell me that there won't be any jobs available 5 years after graduation. And in college, I did a lot of partying. Hell, in high school, I did a lot of partying. Smoked a lot of weed, just partying. And I'm thinking like, well, damn, if I'm not going to have a job available for 5 years after graduation, and Sally Mae wants to knock on my door for student loans, I'm like, hell, what the hell are we doing here? So I just felt like it was a big scam going on.
Yeah.
That was a big scam going on.
Yeah. And what do you feel in hindsight about the fact that the teachers actually gave you that advice when you look back on that?
I'm grateful for it because I'm the only person that acted on it. I was the only person in the whole classroom that stood up, that said something. Yeah, I was probably high in my mind on some weed, but it was that point in time I was like, that doesn't add up though.
Yeah.
That part there does not add the hell up. And so I was always the person trying to listen to what's not, always listening to the small things that's connecting things together.
Yeah.
Funny enough, in freshman orientation, I heard that part out loud. I didn't hear nothing else but the paying back the money part. Mm-hmm. Damn, we got to pay it back? Okay. So then we have this story now, and this is a year later, sophomore year. So I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I've been here too long then. But, making that decision, dropping out of school, it was meant to be. I went back home to Charlotte, and I was looking for ways to make money. I didn't have a job. That was a time where they were saying, oh, you need experience. 19 with no experience, you don't have a degree. So you're in that limbo area. And I didn't really hop in entrepreneurship then. I did things that I saw people in my neighborhood do. Probably sell weed, do stuff like that. And I ended up running with a whole different crowd, and I ended up committing a home invasion. It was a robbery, and I went to prison for it for 3 years. And that opened my mind to realize, you need to learn more about money, because having like I tell people, when you don't have financial literacy, you put your life on the line for money that loses value.
Yeah.
And I was in prison. I did 3 years in prison from 2011 to 2014, from 21 to 24. And it was in prison where I just realized, like, damn, like, this shit sucks. The moment I got arrested, I was just thinking, like, we got to make a comeback. We got to make a comeback. How are you going to come back? Which is why I like Kobe, you know what I mean? Or one of my favorite players is Tom Brady. I would always sit back and sometimes watch how you come back in life.
Yeah.
And so that was where I was dedicated to do. I spent my time in prison learning, reading. And funny enough, I had another prediction, but it didn't go through. I remember when NASA stopped the space program. I forget what year that was. I remember that. It was just a big deal. So there was this guy, he was a lawyer. His name was Zachary Bynum. He was in prison with us. He was in prison. He was the same block with me. And every day he would come down with this big, thick folder because he used to be an attorney. And I guess he thought he was going to get his way out of prison. So he used to subscribe to USA Today, the money section. He used to subscribe. I mean, he subscribed to the whole USA Today. He also subscribed to the Barron. So he was always still reading up on money in prison. I'm like, yo, Bynum, what the hell are you doing? While all the other guys, young guys in there playing around, doing some goofy shit, something struck me to say, hey, talk to him. Talk to him. I didn't care what he was locked up for. I still to this day don't know, but he was the only person still trying to find a way to be connected on that level. So one day I asked him for his USA Today. I got the money section and I started reading it. And I hear about this guy by the name of Elon Musk and this space program and SpaceX, Tesla. And I didn't really know that they were like different companies.
Right.
I didn't really know the depth of it. I just knew this guy owned both of them. And he was going to try to go into space. And he was granted damn near permission to do so. So I wrote a letter home to my mom. I said, I don't know what the hell Tesla is. I don't know what the hell SpaceX is. But if you could buy that stock, I think you should do it. It never happened. So it never happened. But it was then where I think I started unconsciously noticing that I knew that there was a problem in my life. And that problem was, you know, not just not having money, but not knowing what the hell was going on around me with money.
Right. And it's just that lack of financial literacy that, you know, very, very few people in this country.
Right. And I find it out now. That is 78% of the world knows, I mean, the country knows nothing about it. And, you know, when I was in prison, I said, you know, I'm going to be a billionaire no matter what. And folks like, how you going to do that? I don't know shit. You know, Floyd Mayweather, he fought his way out of poverty. Him and his family used to sleep in like a small room with 7 brothers and sisters and cousins. You know, you have people like Tyler Perry who slept on park benches, and you know, at that time he wasn't a billionaire, but he was already pretty well off, right? So it was about like, hell, if they started at rock bottom, hell, you can too. You just have to dedicate every single moment of your life, because everybody who's a billionaire, they at least put 20 years in.
Yeah.
And that was in fiat money. You know what I mean? You had to put 20 years in fiat just to get $1 billion. And so I still kept that energy. And when I came home, I was 24. I was doing a lot of odd ass jobs. I did day labor services where I would get paid $25 a day on 8 hours.
Oof.
I did retail merchandising, working $12 hours a day for $12 a day, manual labor, no insurance. On the road, all you get is like $130 per diem. And I did that for a while until I realized that wasn't, like we like to say, that math went mathing. It wasn't adding up. Like I was making decent money, but it wasn't until I started making like several $1,000s a week on average. And I saw like, damn, my money was just evaporating. Yeah. Not just because of inflation, but because I had a lot of either debt, overdraft, or just had bad money habits. Yeah. And I realized that me working the way I wasn't going to change. You don't work more. You know, I really realized that at that very low level, more work does not change the situation. So I also knew I was gonna have to hop into entrepreneurship, and that's where I started just saying I knew I was about to lose my little, I only can't even call it a job, but I knew that was about to come to an end. And I just had my daughter, and I remember I needed to do something. I needed to do something to create my own, because I was like, yo, how are they getting this $1 billion? How is Zuckerberg getting all this money? How is Elon? How was Bezos getting all this money? Well, the first thing I saw was they all created their own business.
Right.
Mine started as cooking vegan food, delivering it out my house. But I was like, yo, you got to start somewhere. You have to just get started. That was the thing I noticed. Just get fucking started. Yeah. And so it wasn't until, let me say this. That's where I noticed that something had to change. That I remember walking around with my daughter saying that, I don't know what's going on, but something in the world has to be going on that is so damn big that if you're there early, you'll be able to change your life forever. And that's what I put out there.
Early. And early is key. Mm-hmm. Look, it's an incredible story. And then at some point, someone pulled up in a parking lot or somewhere and said, there's a thing, and you're early.
Yeah.
How did that happen? What was that moment?
That moment was at a gas station. And I was I think I was with my girlfriend at that time. And I pull up to the gas station. It's called Sunco off of, I actually need to take a picture of this gas station today. Yeah. That was a moment. Wow, damn. Yeah. That was the moment where I ran across a long time childhood friend by the name of Isaiah Jackson. Some call him Bitcoin Zay. And he just said, "Hey, Justin." Who the hell? I'm the one that's used to like remembering people's names, remembering who they are, their faces. I'm the one with the best memory. But it wasn't until Zay that I realized somebody else was on that level. And he just said, "Hey man, how you doing?" We were just talking and chatting. He said, "Follow me on Instagram, Bitcoin Zay." At that time, I still called it Bitcoin. So I didn't really know what the hell was going on. I met him. We didn't really talk that much about Bitcoin that day. But then I remember watching the movie Dope. Okay, this is cool. Yeah. It still didn't click, but somewhere along the line, the universe was like, it's like, I look at it like Bitcoin was doing like this. Or it was like, hey. It was just these things that were taking place. And then my granddaddy bought a miner.
Your granddaddy he bought a miner?
Yeah, he bought a miner.
A Bitcoin miner?
Yeah.
He himself was doing the mining himself?
He wasn't doing no mining because he got scammed for it. But the thing that happened, because I'm looking out, I remember he called me and my mom and my aunt, and my granddad was like 80 something. And he was like, he was on he was about to transition, in life. And he said, "Yeah, I'm about to mine me some Bitcoin." What the hell is that? I said, "Really?" And they were like, "Do you think this is a scam, Jay? Like, what is it?" So I looked at it, Googled it, and I remember this article, and I was like, "Well, I don't know. It looks pretty legit." So it wasn't until a week later, my mom presented this opportunity. She said, "Hey, there's an opportunity that you can buy, you can invest in this. It'll give you compound growth, dividends, talking all the good financial jargon, and you'll be able to receive your payout in 60 days. I said, "Sure, let's give it a shot." It was called coins.com. Now I go on the website and I see they had, how you could pay. I had to use Circle. I don't even know if people remember that app, Circle. Yeah. I had to use Circle. And on there it said Bitcoin. Like you could use Bitcoin. I saw the BSIM. I said, "Oh, that's that thing I saw in the movie." Then just started clicking. I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. This is a real thing here." So I think I send them the money. The crazy part is I don't even know how I even knew how to do this. I think somewhere in this story I'm missing if Zay told me about how, Zay had told me about it, but I remember after this, I went to Zay. I said, Zay, what do you think this is? Like, what is? He said, you about to get scammed. I said, no, not really. He said, ask him for your money back. I asked them folks for money back. They blocked me from the email. Everything had gone away. And instead of getting scared of Bitcoin, that's when I had that serious talk. I said, all right, if people are scamming people with this, then what the hell is Bitcoin? And that was the day he taught me a lot about Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what I love about this story is you had the heart of the warrior that is the Bitcoin warrior, where you're not put off by that first bad experience, as so many people are, right? And it's like anyone still standing in this world has been scammed at least once. If you're doing all right, you've already been through that. It is kind of a weird rite of passage. And I think it is what's sort of keeping people also on the other side of the fence, understandably. But, I think to be an early adopter of this, you've had to take your licks and you've had to be okay with it.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't nothing to lose, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I've already did 3 years in prison. What the hell? In my opinion, it's like, bruh, let's try it again. Fuck. Like, there's nothing to lose.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing. There was absolutely nothing to lose. So, hey, let's go at it again. Hell, just because I got scammed once doesn't mean I'm gonna get scammed again.
Yeah.
And I actually have, but I got scammed with regular. You get scammed with regular money. That was my thing. I've been scammed with regular money. I was scammed with regular money before then, and I still used the money. So it was like shit.
Yeah, you're not going to stop using money. Yeah. So from there, in terms of like your journey forward of sort of mastering an understanding of Bitcoin and also stacking enough sats for it to matter, how long was that? How much time, how many years did it take to where you were able to say, you know what, I think I'm doing something right?
Well, it took me a while. It didn't take me a while to know that Bitcoin was right. However, it took me a while to understand like the ultimate HODL method. Like, it didn't take a long time. But again, like I said, I didn't have any exposure to financial markets, financial literacy. I just had hope. It was like, well, if you hold it for a while, you can do whatever. So I had to go the Bitcoiner route. I was paid in Bitcoin by Zay. When he moved to California to have his crypto show, he used to pay me to research all the altcoins. Yeah. I used to, there was this one website called earn.com, and I would try to go earn Bitcoin. Like, I was doing a lot of things for Bitcoin. However, I was just getting into the habit of using it. Like I tell people, I had to become, I had to first learn how to use Bitcoin before I came a hodler. Like, there were times I've held Bitcoin and I'm like, oh, this is a lot of money. And it wasn't really a lot of money, but it was enough money to try to take care of some bills. Like, the questions people were asking that they were afraid about with Bitcoin, I was actually living. So when Bitcoin started having that crazy uptick, I was like, oh, all right, let's start, really holding on to this a little longer. So it probably took me a good, 6 months to a year to really get into that kind of, stacking sats mentality. Because for a while I was just using it, living with it. But here's the other part. Around that time, the type of jobs I was getting, Bitcoin was $626. I didn't really have a lot of money to even buy a whole Bitcoin then. And on top of that, I was stuck trying to be an entrepreneur, cooking vegan food, delivering it out of my house, accepting Bitcoin. Like, say, it was my first Bitcoin client at that time. So it wasn't until I got tired of cooking food that I was like, I'm about to start taking Bitcoin to a different level. However, before then, I used to do wallet setups for people for like $25, sell Bitcoin when that was legal, give the smallest a bit of consultations I could, which was a lot to people then. But I was trying to find a way to make this a thing. So even during the bear market, when Bitcoin had tanked severely, I was like, well, the crazy part about it is then when that first happened, I didn't move away from Bitcoin, but I was like, what the hell to do? Because that
Yeah.
was really the most money I ever had, and I watched it go down the drain. Not go down the
Yeah.
drain, but I watched the bear cycle start.
Yeah.
And that was when I started, going to different things, learning how to create a business around educating people on Bitcoin. And so it took several years, because there were point times in my business and career that I only made like the most $400 a month that year.
Right.
So Bitcoin was a savings grace, but I knew I had to step up my business and step up what I was going to deliver, because the few dollars here that got you, several sats or a million some sats, that wasn't going to stay the same. So when Bitcoin started taking off, that's when I started realizing I'm gonna have to do more, and that's where that proof of work comes into play. So, yeah, it took about a year and some change. It took a year and some change to get it.
Yeah. Well, and to get there, it sounds like, in your high school experience of losing your home, the American banking system had failed you at that point.
Yeah.
You went to college, found out you weren't going to be able to pay off your loans, and then you're like, well, the education system also broken. And, and then you went back out into the world and found that, the sort of job economy also broken, for anyone that has, a mark against them, whether that's poor credit, whether that's a criminal record, you name it, a foreclosure or bankruptcy, suddenly it gets hard. It gets really hard to find gainful employment that is fulfilling and going somewhere. And so, you spent the bear cycle developing systems and philosophies and tools to help other people understand the opportunity, and you didn't lose that faith that bear cycle was going to eventually become another bull cycle.
I really didn't with the bear cycle. It was like you're holding for better days, but I'm gonna tell you something was very ironic. I talked to people who bought Bitcoin at like $3. I've talked to people who bought Bitcoin less than $1, and those people back then would say we didn't know what we had. And to be honest, during my first bear market, I didn't know what I had neither. Like that. Now I look forward to a bear market. Like I'm praying for a bear market. It's not saying that I'm not in a different time and place in my life, but who the hell doesn't want a Bitcoin bear market? So you now understand, like, yeah, you might not get a chance. You won't get a chance to buy Bitcoin at those low prices, but you will get an opportunity to have another bear market. So we're preparing for it.
Yeah. And I've been told this by many people who are much, much earlier to this than I was, which is, there's the bear market. It's very easy to invest in a bear market, when everything's on the floor. And it's really, really hard to invest in a bull market if you're not already in it, in terms of chasing after the green candles and FOMOing into things that are peaking and surging. But how this is going to bring us to sort of, the next big question, which is, how do we demystify money? A huge part of your mission is really about educating people who might not have the same tools and access and resources as the precious few, to figure out how to understand money,
right?
How to acquire money. And we're not talking, whether it's fiat, crypto, or otherwise. But how do you look at money? How do you look at wealth? And how do you teach people to approach that from a sort of philosophical standpoint, as opposed to just this this sort of like ice cold tool that you use to just to just earn?
Now, so the thing is now is like always now I'm really starting to learn, because that's a great question. Before I would just hop into Bitcoin like, hey, this is what you gotta do, blah blah. But then it's like you gotta peel it back a layer and give folks a reason why. Like, well, here, you might not know about money. Hell, I didn't know nothing about money. So the first thing I tell people is the first thing that Zay and others taught me. They taught me about the Federal Reserve and what it is doing to your money. Like, what are they doing? How is this issuance a problem? How is having someone control control the value of your money a problem. So that was something that was broken down to me. And I remember back in those days, 2016, there were no Twitter spaces, there were no clubhouses. I wasn't good at Reddit. I think I was on the Bitcoin Talk or Bitcoin. I forgot the name. I haven't been on there so long. But I remember being on there and I couldn't really keep up with the conversations. There would be some folks would talk and they would talk about money and they would talk about tech. And I'm like, oh God, what the hell? Where do I start? So I started with what I could see, what I could comprehend. And that was that inflation was real. So I start there. I start there because, for instance, and these numbers could be off a bit, but due to inflation, if you're working for 30 years, you lose 6 years in your 401k because of inflation. Those numbers could be off, but you're losing no matter how you're looking at it. The longer you're in that system, you're losing. So the biggest icebreaker to me was learning that, number one, inflation is killing the dollar. And that's another thing. I remember learning about inflation. I don't remember much of anything in economics class. I do, because it's all coming back since being in Bitcoin, but most of it, I didn't give a damn about none of it. I'm here to play ball, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but certain things did stand out. I remember inflation. I remembered how they calculated interest. I remember those small things. And I remember that, I remember those stories like older people would share, like how I can go to the grocery store and buy a month of groceries like $5. It's like, well, shit, I can't even get a bottle of water for $5 some places. Yeah. So those type of stories were slowly coming out my subconscious. And you're like, now these things are making sense. And the very first thing that really shook me was when I bought Bitcoin, I saw my money move. I never saw my money move. And then I realized, I saw I was taught and learned how the bank really you don't get shit you leave money in the bank to spend it.
Yeah.
And most people in my community, neighborhood, only thing we knew was checking and savings.
Yeah.
So there was a lot that was missed. And in that, I started realizing like, whoa, it's not that people are playing the game on you. It's the fact that you're not asking the right damn questions. And it was deeper than that. Being Black in America, you end up having like what we call a money story. And I realized what my money story was. My money story was built off of crash and burning. My money story was built off of thinking I can't have it. Hell, part of my money story was probably thinking something bad would happen if I got money. So I ended up going through like a life coaching training during the bear market. And one of the things that stood out there, because I am a certified coach, but one of the things that stood out was like we would do these money mirror stories. And it's like, oh shit, people have this mentality and this thought pattern around money. And that's what your brain is operating off of. So that's what you're going to track. And that's the only way you're going to see money. So it was that money story piece. And it was also the fact of how when I learned the difference between Keynesian economics and Austrian economics, that's when I was like, oh shit. Okay. So we're basically a shop till you drop nation. And it's kind of like how Pomp says, we don't have a money problem. We have a crazy spending problem. So all of those things just started lining up, and it was the same across different races. Like, right. We have black people who understood this, white people understood it, Asians who understood this. It's like, oh shit. So I started finding an alignment with what the problem was and an alignment with how these people were going to use the solution with Bitcoin. So it was a major opener just on the money part in that regard.
Right. That is, I mean, and also when you get into like Keynesian versus Austrian, I mean, that's, you went deep. You went deep into that. What would be like the simplest top line takeaway that you could tell us about the difference between those two systems or those two ways of thinking?
one wants you to spend all your money, the other wants you to save it. Keys in economics is
Yeah.
about you spending it, having this spending culture to get you out of a problem. And you know what? That's most people in the world. I'm not in the world. That's
Mm,
most people in this country. And
mm,
hell, I even find myself trying, getting myself out of that. Let's keep spending. Let's keep throwing money at the problem. Hope, 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 hope. And it happens a lot in business. It's like, damn, you do want to invest in this part of your business, but it's like, do I need to right now? Do you have that thought of like, well, what if I don't? So
yeah.
it's about just kind of trying to break that. But with Austrian economics, it's all about how much you can save, how much can you hold, how
Mm,
much can you keep. And
mm,
so that shift in habits, that shift in mindset, it can be hard because people don't want to go away from what they've been doing.
right.
And it's like, what? Well, I'm not gonna be able to smoke the weed I want. I'm not gonna be able to go out to the
Yeah.
club. I'm not gonna be able to buy this. I'm not gonna be able to get on the boat, drink beer with friends. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
be able to, go skydiving or go to whatever. It's like I'm not gonna be able to do all that. It's like that's kind of not what it is, but sort of. So I had to go through a lot, and I still go through. I still learn it, like better budgeting habits, because
Mm,
you don't want to use your Bitcoin, right? And you can't
right.
hodl. If you can hodl, but if you don't have nothing coming in, you just gonna be waiting for bear. You're gonna be waiting for bull markets. What if you go through another bear market for 3 to 4 damn years? I mean, you can still hodl, but just know every damn dollar is going down.
Yeah.
So these are all the things that hit my mind that I realized in like warp speed we're gonna have to tackle.
Yeah. What do you think? What do most people get wrong when they're first trying to get into crypto, in your experience?
They're here to get rich.
Yeah.
And well, in Bitcoin, they're here to get rich. In crypto, uh, hell, they think they know what the hell they're doing. They don't know what they're going up against. I'm only in Bitcoin. I'm not in
Yeah.
crypto shit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And but I think a lot of times people just they run with this idea that you're gonna get rich quick. They run with this idea of like, oh well, I heard my friends make money in this, but you don't know how much money your friends made. You don't know if your friends took that money home. You don't know if they can actually like turn that into fiat or turn it into Bitcoin. You're just hearing people advertise and market all damn day. So you're in this world where you don't know what's going on, and you're gonna get burned.
Yeah.
So but that's the biggest thing that. Like even with Wall Street bets, everybody heard about the shorts. Oh, let's go do it. And I had a friend that made some money off of it, right? He never took it home.
Yeah.
So, it's a harsh entrance to investing, but when you have something as groundbreaking as this, that's how it's gonna be in the first few years.
Mm, mm. Um, it's very wise and super important, I think, for people to understand that too, that when they enter the ecosystem of crypto, it's sort of like it's sort of like entering the Colosseum in Roman times,
Yeah.
where there you can leave a gladiator, you can leave a hero, but there are also a lot of things in there that are designed to kind of fuck you up. And the FOMO culture, I think the people shilling their own bags culture, there are all these things that aren't obvious when you first enter and you get on Twitter and you like, oh shit, I see green candles. What's that project? And you don't always realize that it's a promoter that's
Mm-hmm.
pushing that and that they're getting paid to do it. You don't always realize that people are really sort of a social engineering experience when you get in there, in terms of people looking for exit liquidity on certain projects. But yeah, no, I think it's really important to understand that, like, when you enter that ring, there are a lot of things that are designed to confuse you and disorient you.
Yeah.
And you
Like
have,
pump and dump groups.
oh yeah, yeah. And like, you really have to have your wits about you,
Mm-hmm.
you really have to have your wits about you, and you really have to kind of like have a healthy amount of skepticism,
And you
for
really gotta
sure.
like kind of control your greed, because even though I wasn't in crypto spaces, I did fall for an ICO. That shit was trash. I never actually told people though, like to buy it.
Yeah.
But I ended up, I remember I was in this one, I got put into like this random, I don't even know what app that was back in the day. Was it Telegram? It was another group app, but I got put into this random app. I think it might have been like even on like Messenger. Right? I just got put into this random app, and then I just see all these crypto Bitcoin people or whomever, and then they all just leave. And I'm like, why is everybody leaving? Well, come to find out, it was like big scam group where these folks were like meeting every week, talking about how they're gonna do this. And a lot of folks didn't know it was a scam until you got to the other side of the equation. And I was like, oh shit, like this is how serious it is. So yeah, I was like, nah, I can't do this. Because it went against I wasn't trying to be in the scam energy, all that shit. Like it just reminded me of crime. And like, nah, like it wasn't, it felt like I was gonna have to do way too much work. Like I wasn't here to do more work. Like I'm not here to do more work. Like Bitcoin can give you, what you need to not have to do all that. I wanted to create things that help people, not take away. So those early years, when you don't know what the hell's going on, or you don't have someone to help guide you, or even like you might be those people. Like I know everybody has this, oh, I'm about to get rich quick. We're gonna get this thing quick. Once you realize that that's not there, then you get to really make a sound decision on what it is. Because I can talk to my friends, they blue in the face, so I'm blue in the face. Like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this. Okay. Oh, you got that shit coin over there. How'd that work? Now I was up like 400 million. Then what? Because you were never up 400 million. Could you find anybody to give you $400 million for Shiba Inu? No. So you were never up that much money. Only thing you can find somebody to give you a damn $1 million for it. So when there's, like you said, no liquidity, and folks are ready to do their exit scam on you, bye-bye. Yeah. So it's a real reality.
And who do you? So when you're taking this education round, which feels incredibly important, I think, especially because of how many new people are sort of walking in quite blindly to a lot of these traps. Who do you work with, and how do you choose who to work with?
Well, I really put it out there in the world. It actually took me 4 years to create a course, and these group of women, they were an investment group. They were into like real estate, stocks, bonds, life insurance, anything. And the leader of the group asked me to teach them about Bitcoin. So I would just I said, all right, cool. I set up a course, we did it. And then I noticed that, I could probably teach a few other people. So I would just put the message out there and see what came back. And then I started getting a little bit more strategic in 2020. I would go to different platforms that talked about wealth, and especially in my community, because to be honest, a lot of white guys weren't going to listen to me talk about Bitcoin, right? So what happened was I started just growing my own knowledge, showing people who were interested. And as a full disclaimer, white people have learned from me, so I am cool with it. But at that point in time, like nobody was listening to me. So it took in the first few years, it was just me learning. I was learning how to communicate with the everyday person about Bitcoin. I was learning how to deal with their objections, their fears, and how they all come with this smart ass remark. But over time, you just start learning like you're ahead of people in a major way. And it wasn't until 2021 where I'm part of this group called Black Bitcoin Billionaires on Clubhouse. And every day in the morning, I'm up there teaching people or just answering questions as best as possible. I even opened up a room called From Bars to Bitcoin, where I give the opportunity for folks who come home from prison or people who work in that organization to get some, base layer knowledge about Bitcoin. So even with all the courses and material I had, it was always just geared to who liked me, who resonated with me. Because it was that point, it was a weird point in time where it didn't matter who you were, what you were, whatever. This Bitcoin shit, I'm not touching it, and I don't care who you are. So you just had to start looking for character traits, really. Yeah. It wasn't just a particular person. It didn't matter how much money they made. It was about, like, how committed are you to being in a position that could change your life forever? So that's how I probably went about finding those folks. it really didn't matter what color you were. It was just a matter like, were you open to learn? Didn't matter who you learned from, or did you have enough learning lessons that were losses that opened you up to whomever, that opened you up to the real truth of what Bitcoin was.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is amazing. It sounds like the work you're doing is incredibly important.
Thank you. Thank you. I try.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it's accessible to so many people as well. You know, that it's not just this thing that sort of like exists in elite circles. But
right, yeah, that was the biggest part.
Yeah.
That I could buy Bitcoin without having to, like, I tried to buy marijuana stocks on E-Trade. All the shit just looked confusing. And, you know, you either had to be an accredited investor or you wanted to have like a certain amount of money, or I just might have had the wrong information. But
yeah,
it just is like too much. I was like, nah, I think this Bitcoin stuff is a little bit easy. I can just buy this and, you know, do whatever. So that's where I was with that.
Yeah. So in a minute, we're going to have a special guest come on and join us. But just until then, I do have one question, because having listened to several of your podcasts, read, several interviews, I understand that one of the sort of cornerstones of your journey into this and why you had such conviction, even when there was so much uncertainty, had to do with that desire to be early and your recognition that all of these people who you looked up to, who had extraordinary success, you sort of attributed that to them being early. Mm-hmm. You were early. Are we still early?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. We're early. We're early by price standards. We're early by global adoption standards. Even within the Bitcoin space, we're early because, like, if you have less than 1% in the world who has any exposure to Bitcoin, even with that 1%, you still have people who don't fully have faith in Bitcoin. Might be just Bitcoin holders. So hell yeah, we're still early. You're just not having a country accept it as legal tender. You're still early. We don't have rockets, right? We don't have those rocket planes that Elon Musk is going to build that you're going to be able to use Bitcoin to get on. So you're still early. Like, you're so early that the world has not opened the businesses in the world have not opened up to saying, hey, we accept Bitcoin. Right. So we're still early. You don't have a lot of people using the Lightning Network of Bitcoin. You're still early. And the fact that you can possibly get a job in this space and make crazy amount of money. So there's so many opportunities if you open your mind to them. And if you really take a look at like what's going on, it's a lot of opportunities. Like, you'll still be able to, there are ways that you will be creative enough to still earn more Bitcoin. And I mean a whole Bitcoin. So it's just about believing in it and just actually noticing. Like, we're still kind of within that stage where Amazon is still mailing you list of books you can buy in the mail early.
Yeah.
We're still early where Netflix is still I think Netflix started out selling CDs.
Yeah. The DVDs.
DVDs.
But yeah,
that's how early we are.
They came in the mail.
I
love this answer.
DVDs. Netflix is selling DVDs and we still have VCRs, damn it. So we're that early.
Yeah. Okay. I like this answer. I think the community is going to love that answer. I think everyone's trying to figure out where are they in the historic timeline of Bitcoin, because they weren't there at the very, very beginning. Right. So it's exciting to hear not just that we're early, but all those reasons why, and for context, is really, really helpful and illuminating. Yes, so we are now going to go to a very faraway land and welcome onto the show our very own Meow Meow, who is excited to join us. Meow Meow, welcome to the show.
Hello.
What's going on?
Hello.
Hey, Justin. Hey, Venus. I would call it not just far land. I would actually call it no man's land, but okay. All right. So I actually prepared the blitz earlier, right? But then I listened to you, Justin, and I literally had to rewrite all the questions because I thought these topics you touch are very serious. And don't you mind if I ask you a few questions then?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So everyone heard here, I'm Russian myself, right? And according to some sources in America, I'm also considered a person of color, which is kind of strange because, like, even if I'm white collared, according to, I believe, some university, I can't remember out of my head, right? But I'm considered also as a person of color. But and I think like ethnicity stuff is complete bullshit, and in crypto it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist at all, right? But have you ever encountered any problems or like some uncommon bad situation because you're black and in crypto space?
Not really.
Oh, you're lucky, actually.
No, I haven't personally. I mean, I remember where Coinbase has said, you know, when they had the George Floyd riots, if folks were going to come to the work, you know, talking about Black Lives Matter, supporting George Floyd, that they'll be fired. But as far as like all out, you know, issues for being black, I have never really experienced that up front ever. Now, I probably felt it systematically, but up front, well, I did one time. Yeah, that was a very neat story. It could have gotten ugly, but yeah, only once in my life outside of crypto, but never really within the crypto space that I can recall, or that was just right there in my face that I could say that's what it was.
I mean, I think I can consider you lucky, but I think this topic should be touched. Oh, am I too quiet, by the way? No.
Yeah, look, I'm trying to. I don't know. It might just be where I am. It might not even be you because I'm not using the. I'm not able to use the speaker I wanted, so it might not be you. It could just be my mic. I mean, my speaker.
Okay, I made myself a little bit louder. Probably should be good. All right. So, and as far as I understood, you're ex-convict, right? And when I heard about you coming to this podcast last week, I actually said to Venus, like, your story reminds me about Titan Gilroy. He was an ex-convict, and he started by opening a small CNC workshop, and now he's making the most precise, one of the best quality CNC parts in USA for aerospace, defense, all the stuff. And I can say you two are kind of unicorns because you basically came from rocks to riches, as an idea, right? But do you know any other people who followed the same path? That's like not just motivational question, right? It's more like, is there a light in the end of a tunnel? Since many people who never encountered like ex-convicts, but they put the label on such people on the ex-convict. They can't get a job, they can't go anywhere, they're labeled basically. Like, again.
So you're saying, have I ever encountered those people in the space?
Yeah, like such unicorns, basically, or is it?
Well,
not
shit,
I'm
trying to create them myself. So there, like I said, in the Black Bitcoin Billionaires room on Clubhouse, every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I don't know what time that would be in Russia, but
late.
I think Russia might be that might be 2 a.m. maybe.
11 hours difference in front. So
it's 11 hours. I thought it was 6. All right, cool. Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be a little later, but. The point is, so what we do in there, I educate, folks who come home from prison, because what I know is that being in prison, if you've been in there, hell, I did 3 years. So if you've been in there quite some time, your brain goes through things. You start learning things at a different pace. Everything you got to learn is basically on the fly. I had to become a baker on the fly. In 2 weeks, I need to learn how to bake a cake all the way from scratch. So you start learning things on the fly, and you have a lot of different ways to use your brain. Like, everybody in prison is MacGyver. I've used headphones and Brillo pads and pieces of batteries and a ground wire to charge a cell phone. So that type of ingenuity mine is always there. And so that's why I even opened that room, because I want to bring those type of folks into the Bitcoin space, because Bitcoin don't give a damn. Bitcoin doesn't give a damn. Like, what can you do? How can you produce? And so even within that, take that to the next level, talking to different prisons and jails to actually create a program, going inside and teaching that, just that base layer of Bitcoin. So when they come home and get out, they can even go into like another program of either learning how to code. I want them to learn like real hardcore, like Bitcoin or tech stuff. It's like, you're not here to play games. So creating that scenario over and over is what I'm looking to do. But yeah, Have I met another one? I have not met them yet. Are they out there? I'm pretty sure they are. I know I'm not the only one, but as of recent, just the one person who's been publicly open about using Bitcoin in that regard. So, yeah, we're going to create them, and I'm sure they're out there. I just haven't met them yet.
You sure? I think after that podcast, you sure will met some.
Well, I think it's also, a lot of people in crypto are very low key about their investments and all of these things. And then on the other hand, you have people who are the educators and the evangelists and the thought leaders who are taking on a certain risk by putting themselves out there in such a public way. So I think you're always going to sort of have that dichotomy of people who are lying low and just, really wanting to protect their privacy, and people who are willing to put themselves out there in order to advance the mission.
Yeah. Anybody that's putting themselves out there, you're really putting yourself out there on the line, and no matter where it doesn't matter what you're in. Once you've gone to that level of being out there and open in the public, it doesn't matter what industry you in, you're putting yourself on the line for other people to, to either learn from you, or, to learn through you, or, ridicule you, call you a piece of shit, whatever. Those are all the options that are out there. But, when you're out there, you're out there. And I don't know, I heard a famous quote. He said, you take the boos and the applause all at the same pitch, and you stay focused on what's out there.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have a third question. Usually, more like a comic relief here. Bad dad jokes, all this stuff.
Meow.
Yeah.
You're way too loud.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Thank you for telling me. The audio stuff is hard.
Still loud.
Oh, come on.
It's all good.
Okay.
Ears.
Sorry. Is it good now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, so I'm usually comedic relief here, all the stuff. So I actually thank you, Let Channel. And thank you, Walter. Walter, thank you. I've noticed. Okay. So I have not serious question here for you, right? Have you ever considered using miners to heat a greenhouse to grow vegetables, so you can eat them and continue mining them? So like a full circle, something like that.
So I've thought about it. I didn't have all the funds to buy those damn miners, but it's definitely a thought that I remember. It was back in like 2016, 2017, where people were talking about how you could effectively use the heat coming from miners. And so I thought about it. Again, never did it. But what's funny now is that you don't need to be cold to mine Bitcoin no more, because they have volcanoes in El Salvador that's mining Bitcoin. So everything is changing.
That city in El Salvador, by the way. I missed the news part. Have you talked about it, Venus?
We did. Yeah.
I missed it. But that's like a heaven. I swear I want to move there.
It's going to be one. It's going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to go through it's going to go through some ups and downs and some bullshit at first, but it's going to be. It's the playbook. It's the playbook.
Yeah. It's funny, I have to say, because this is the first time for whatever reason, we haven't talked about miners very much on the show. And this is the first time I've noticed that when the word miners is said, my brain is switching it over to people of a certain age as opposed to the actual Bitcoin miners. So when Meow's asking the question about, having some miners farm a vegetables, it's like, I have to remind myself that we're talking about Bitcoin miners.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, that sounds like a sweatshop. What are you talking about? So I'd love to end the show with a certain question, because what I really am super interested in hearing about is, we've talked about the Bitcoin part, we haven't talked about the vegan part. This is obviously a huge part of your identity and a huge part of your legacy and your history. Right. Crypto, it has, or I shouldn't say crypto so much as Bitcoin, has this really funny part of its culture, which is about stake. And I still can't say I personally understand it. It seems really counterintuitive to me, but that's me. It's sort of like the opposite of futurism, I think, which is why it feels really sort of out of a context. But I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about the vegan part of BitcoinVegan, and how you encounter people in this space, knowing that one of the biggest sort of threads of Bitcoin culture is about steak.
Yeah, well, I say this. So the vegan part came before me being Bitcoin. I transitioned to veganism before I became a Bitcoiner. I was training for boxing at this gym called Dime Boxing. I wanted to be real clean and healthy, and I was just on the algorithm of Instagram helped me out. I started learning about this guy by the name of Dr. Sabi, and
I know him.
Yeah,
I knew him. Yeah.
And I saw all this stuff, all this teaching. So I started following him online a lot. And I remember meeting this woman. Her name was Anita Harris on the bus. And I was trying this thing out so much. I'm like, bro, I don't know what the hell to do. And she helped me. Like, we used to talk on Snapchat. She would show me, what recipes to buy, how to do this, how to do that. And so it was like, all right, cool, I can do this. I was being healthy. It was a hard ass process. And then when it came to Bitcoin, I noticed that, Bitcoin had that same process, but then it also had the same amount of dumbass people clowning you and talking crazy to you.
Yeah.
And so I was a vegan for the health. I was a vegan for the freedom over just me being able to decide what I'm going to eat, not having all these chemicals, or being able to decide, I want all organic, or break my food down in bulk and just buy it like that. And when I started inquiring about Bitcoin, I was like, this is kind of I started seeing similarities, decentralization from money, the standard dollar, decentralization from the sad diet, the standard American diet. So breaking away from what was traditional was the thing I saw. The amount of people who would talk shit, people, oh, you're vegan, da-da-da this, da-da-da that. Oh, you're in Bitcoin, blah, blah, this is just for a while, I was just catching hell from anybody.
Yeah.
And then I eventually, going through this process enough, you just, you harden to it, not in a bad way. But I started noticing this is ultimate freedom. So when I first of all, let's say this, I've never encountered none of those carnivore vegan people. However, I'm going to purposely just step towards them. So if y'all tweet this out, BitcoinVegan is going to attack the Bitcoin steak eaters.
Hey.
I haven't had to actually deal with that just yet, but we're going to see what it looks like in just a few more weeks.
Yeah, interesting. All right, so this sounds like the ground game is set for a platform. A platform.
The stage is set, man.
Yeah,
the games are ready.
Yeah, but it sounds like they are close cousins, right? In terms of seemingly radical, but also futuristic, and also problem solving. And it's like, I get it. It makes sense. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Thank you. I'm already getting a lot of responses from the audience and people in the community about how moved they are by your story, and how kind of turned on they are by understanding what that kind of journey is, which is a real journey, not someone who just kind of FOMO'd in late season and
I wasn't no FOMO.
What do I buy?
We just dove straight in. We just dove straight in and said, hey, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. That's a lot. There's probably a lot of people out there in the world that go through that, but they don't really look for solutions.
Right.
And Bitcoin was a solution. It didn't really matter. And it still doesn't matter. Bitcoin can go to zero today. I'll still be here. Someone asked me before, well, what do you about this? What do you think about this? And it's cool. People ask me, am I going to what I think about this coin, what I think about that coin. And I have to respectfully say, I've made my decision to die in Bitcoin. So we're not going to, y'all see the name BitcoinVegan. Once I decided I was going to do that, there was going to be no turning back. So that's where we are.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. It was really, really wonderful to have you on the show. Meow, do you have anything else that you'd like to ask, share, say?
That was perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I know you might have a lot of noobs on there. We know we got Black Friday coming up. You're like, oh God, I'm going to get shilled. You're not getting shilled, not for that much money anyway. But I'm having a Bitcoin mastermind group, Black Friday deal, $1. You can sign up. You'll be a part of for the whole damn month for $1. So you can go to the link in my bio. Thank you. No problem, Matt. Go to the link in my bio. It's the very first link. If you're on Twitter, it's the very first one. Just sign up. Sign up. And it's a waiting list. So you don't even have to spend your dollars a day. So just sign up and see what's up. Also, check out From Bars to Bitcoin live on Amazon. So, yeah, there we go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I can't wait to read the book.
Yes,
I can't wait to read the book.
I can't get the book. We don't have Amazon here.
We got to figure out how you're going to get the book. You got to hit me up on Twitter. We're going to have to figure it out, man. I tried to send a book to a guy in Canada one time, and the shipping was like $30. So we're going to have to work something out. We'll figure something out.
We can think of something.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you, Meow.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you to the community and the audience. And we will see you guys next week.
Thank you.